All right, we are live. We'll wait a minute here for some people to come in. So we're going to talk. You can still hear me. There we go. I'm back. Talk about what's going on with these fuel prices. We got Rand Taylor going to come on from the Fuel X company. Not just because they have great products, but because Rand is he gets around and he's a smart guy. Talks to a lot of different people in the industry about what's going on. So he has a lot of different experiences to share and talk about a few solutions. And let me get him back. He had to step away for a second here. Let's bring him back in.
Hey, I'm here.
We got your back.
You're back. I'm back.
All right. So I was just telling everybody, we talk about we got a lot going on right now with fuel prices. Inflation, equipment prices are just crazy. We got a lot of nonsense going on. You're a busy guy. You travel around, talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different industries, and you have a pretty impressive background in different financial scenarios here. So here I am coming to you, maybe for some answers or, what do you see? What are all the big wigs talking about that you talk to?
Well, it's you're right. I am all over the place, and it's not always a great thing. But in this case, it gives me a little different, I think, insight than what you're going to get off of the nightly news.
Yeah. We can't. I feel like we can't really go by what we see and hear on the news. So talking
more
to you
so,
kind of like ground level.
More so than ever. I mean, you really can't.
Yeah.
You can't trust anything on the news anymore. I've never seen it in my entire lifetime like it is today. I mean,
and that's not a political statement. It's reality.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you turn on. Everybody, it just seems like news now is just a way of getting out an idea or some sort of propaganda trying to get you to react a certain way, one way or the other, depending on which channel you're watching, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get really good at deciphering what's real and what's not. And I think the best thing to do is just to go with your gut instinct and go with what you see personally every day. Fortunately for me, like you said, I've been all over the place. In the last month, I've been down to in the Gulf, in both New Orleans and Miami. I've been to Indianapolis. I've been to Las Vegas. I've been to, and everything in between. Just taking the temperature of everyone out there and what everyone thinks and what's going on and how people feel. And yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot. There may not be another time in history that has as much going on as we have right this moment.
Yeah.
And both good and bad. Unfortunately, the bad tends to be blown out of proportion and the thing that we all concentrate on. But in the same token, I think there's a lot of good out there too that needs to be brought to light. As far as that goes, though, I mean, let's face it. We're in our small world, we're talking about fuel prices and equipment failures and how to make things last longer and all that kind of good stuff. So that's kind of where I try to stay away from all the noise that's out there that tries to distract all of us from living the best life we can.
Right.
And just concentrate on what's and don't ignore the big picture, but let's face it, it's the little picture that gives us our daily, our daily thing.
It's what we can control.
Exactly.
It's like what's in front of you, what you're dealing with is what you can control. So focus on that and just realize that the bigger picture, these people are just going to lie and keep up with their nonsense.
Yep.
And do what you can do.
Yep, exactly.
All you can do.
And now, that's all we do too.
Yeah. So you're in, I've been watching your videos on your channel and stuff, and I shared one of them out. That video you made with the guy that runs the windmill service company. They service the windmills.
Right. Yeah.
That information was impressive. That's a harsh environment, on those pivots on the windmills, and very expensive. So I mean, that's and the kind of results they got was amazing. And you just shared with me that you got into another very high profile company. Do you care to talk about that at all?
Yeah, sure. Well, let me back it up just a little bit too, because a little lesser a high profile company got us in there, which is what we brought on our first distributor, our first, I should say, our first international distributor, BDI, which is Bearings Distributors Inc.
Okay.
And they have 2,700 salespeople around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to introduce us to Ford Motor Company. And we had a situation with them which really was, I mean, they used all our products, and they seem to love all our products, which is great. But the one thing that happened, which they are still, believe it or not, referring to it as the Ford phenomenon,
Uh-huh.
because it's ongoing, is about almost a year ago, 49 months ago, they had an issue with one of the tail bearings at their one of their stamping plants that got jammed up with aluminum swarling, and they couldn't get another one for 12 weeks, they were told. So what we did is we drilled holes in the seals for the bearings, sprayed the spray inside, which I know you got some there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we sprayed the spray inside there, the super spray, cleaned it all out, and put it back on. And literally, it's been running for 49 weeks now. And we got a phone call from the engineer about 3 weeks ago saying, "Hey, you told me that you were going to help us limp this through till we got the new bearing. When's it going to stop limping?"
Yeah.
And we said, "Hey, we don't know, because we've never done this. We've never had a situation like this before. We knew it would do great. We just wasn't aware how far it's going to go. And to this point, we don't know. The new bearing is literally sitting next to it,
Oh, wow.
waiting for it to fail. But of course, with those types of situations, they don't stop the whole thing to change a bearing unless the bearing
Right.
has failed. So they're just going to wait, and we're just waiting to see how long it goes."
So
But
did they share with you like what that bearing costs them?
something, good question. No, they didn't. I could find out very easily. I never asked.
Because that's not just a small little bearing. That's a pretty good sized.
Yeah, I forget what size it was. It's a good size bearing. I believe it's a Timken. I want to say 208, but I'm really not sure. I could find out and let you know. You could let everybody know.
But the
But
downtime, I imagine the downtime,
well, that's it.
is
It's
measured
the
in hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably.
Well, that's interesting too, because one of the things he says is, "By the way, how much is this stuff?" And we said, and we answered, "Doesn't matter," you know, because what it's done for you, it's way more than the $20 a can that it is, or so.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what kind of got us. I think that's what kind of got us over the hump over there, and we're just now getting to the point where there's where they're starting to order, and now we're starting to do some trials at some other very large, well-known companies. And as we get over those hurdles, I'll share that with you as well.
Yeah. You have a lot going on, and I'm trying to been kind of following along here. Heard you on satellite radio on a morning show, doing a little interview there.
Yeah.
Um, you had sent me this article here in the Waterways Journal, um, about your products. They're really focusing on the environmental aspects of it, which is, it's getting to be a big deal. It really is.
Well, we're very fortunate, because our all of our, whether it's our fuel additive or our lubricants, all of them actually are very good for the environment. Now, granted, our fuel additive is not a plant-based product, but the fact it gives better fuel efficiency and it reduces emissions by up to 70%. These are really good things for the environment.
Hmm.
Of course, our lubricants are all plant-based. And the fact is that all of them tend to allow the machinery to last longer. And that's a huge thing too. When you look at environmental costs, if you don't have to create it, then you're not using energy, you're not using human capital, you're not using raw materials, so
Hmm.
we help on all those aspects as well.
In today's obviously super inflationary environment, I don't know how you would label it. making equipment last longer. I mean, if you don't have to replace it, if you don't have to replace, kingpins and U joints and different things because you're using, superior lubricants, you're saving a lot of money. And the part shortages, the downtime. There's guys down for months waiting on stupid little parts.
Let me tell you something, Adam. You're 100% right. I just literally an hour ago, I met with a local guy around here who brokers heavy equipment parts
Mhm.
rather, and it's the kind of thing where he gets phone calls from the OEMs, because they don't have the part, so he'll go find the part somewhere. That's what he does for a living. And he said, you have no idea how bad it is right now, even though I brought it up because I know how bad it is.
Yeah.
But he said, even that, he goes, you don't really get it. Because if you want a transmission or an engine for a Caterpillar loader somewhere, you're going to have to wait 65 weeks for it.
Oh my gosh.
It's unbelievable. He says and I, in the last couple of weeks I've been on sales calls, I've probably had half a dozen guys during these normal conversations tell me, hey, you know what? If I'm really scared because if something breaks, I don't think I can replace it. Because the lag times are so big now for just the most basic of parts.
Right.
And I had one guy tell me on Thursday, he said, hey, listen, I go, when I broke a part, I knew I could just order another one.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, now I don't have that same feeling. So
You
I'm
gotta
scared. I'm
make it
scared
last.
to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
I
need
mean,
to make our stuff last.
that's part of, we've been preaching that for, a while now. Like everybody's like, well, what do I do in these tough times with this inflation, the equipment prices, the fuel prices? I'm like, don't back down on doing everything you possibly can for your equipment because it's got to last.
Yep.
Like, you got to, if you want to make it through this, buying a $300,000 truck to replace the one you got is not part of the plan. It's it's not practical with fuel prices skyrocketing. Freight rates plummeting. Freight volumes plummeting. It's a scary time right now. So continue to give your truck the best of everything you possibly can. Your truck, your car, your everything. We got to go back to the way our grandparents did it and stop throwing things away. you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
make them last and you fix them. But you're saying you're talking to different heavy equipment people all over the country. That's kind of like if you got your finger on the pulse of the average guy, that's kind of the impression I get from everybody. Everybody's worried. Everybody that kind of works behind the scenes and dealing with parts and fixing things and the people that make this country go and this economy go, they're all a little bit have that same concern right now. Like it's really just kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of
Yeah. Yeah. No,
jive with?
what's interesting is that I've felt that way now for a few months,
Yeah.
Actually, I've felt that way longer than that, So because I've seen things going, I think, in the wrong direction in a myriad of places.
Yeah.
But having said that, I've always felt this is America and America wins. We're winners in America. And I still believe that,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same token, I'm more concerned now than I ever have been.
Yeah.
And I'm sensing it. It's starting to sink in now with even the thickest of those people that we deal with,
Yeah. It's hard to breathe when somebody's got their foot on your throat.
Yeah.
It's left to
Yeah.
your own devices. We pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and bring ourselves back, and we win. That's what we
Yep.
do in America. But when you have whoever it may be working directly against you and trying to stop you, it's makes it hard. And
Yeah.
I still believe we win. We're hardworking people. But
Well, and I'm also I'm also a believer that the truth always eventually comes out,
mhm.
and there's been a lot of suppression of the truth in the last few years,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and it's everywhere. It's not just one
No,
thing or
it
another.
is everywhere. It tends to be more in a few. It's concentrated more
Yeah,
in a few places, but it's still pretty pervasive almost
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. It is. Well, trucking is good for the last two. What do I want to say? Since what, late 2020, trucking's just been on a tear.
Yeah,
Like you could not help but make money. It's everywhere. It's a lot of room for error. a lot of margin for error. Uh, oh, let me tell you, not so much anymore. In the last, what do I want to say, month and a half, 2 months or so, just shortly after beginning of the year, it's kind of started to turn around. And in these last 3 weeks here, it has hit hard. Freight volumes are in the toilet. The freight volumes are nearly as low as they were during the COVID shutdowns. Uh, Rates are they're not great anymore. I mean, they're still better than during the COVID shutdowns, but they're low. And obviously, you've seen what diesel fuel is doing. It is through the roof. The part that bothers me is, and this is merely my opinion, I can kind of feel like nobody seems to care. Like the politicians, they've only recently taken these actions that they've taken because they've been forced to. And I think the actions that they've taken will largely be meaningless. They're not really going to do anything. They're going to use this to push a green agenda, which, hey, I'm all for the environment, but this isn't the kind of thing you change overnight. Like, this takes time. You can't
Mhm.
just you can't just shut off oil one day and say the next day we're all electric cars. Well, you still need oil to run the power plants, blah blah blah. It's a transition. Like, you can't force this to happen quickly. So we're really in a pinch. Trucking is in a pinch right now. So, I mean, what do you recommend people do to as far as your part in this of fuel economy,
Well,
longevity of equipment, taking care of
yeah,
things?
yeah. I mean, really, you have to get back to basics, and you have to be frugal, and you have to be smart, and you got to drive it, whatever, 65 miles an hour, 60 to 65 miles an hour, as hard as that is.
Hmm.
You have to, you can't, you got to stay off the pedal, you got to stay off the brake, you got to stay, all these things, these natural things that you all know, that maybe you didn't care that much about in the past, you got to pay attention to again. But my biggest concern isn't it's the price of fuel. When it skyrockets the way it did in the last month and a half, since the Ukraine thing, right, started. um, all that will eventually catch up with the rest of the world will catch up with it, and you'll be able to increase your surcharges and increase your freight rates and all that kind of stuff to cover that. But in the meantime, it's particularly for the small independent guy, that's a tough nut to crack because you can't pass that around right away, you know.
Yeah.
And you
Are
guys
other
and you go
So
ahead.
you talk to the people in the wind energy business, the shipyard business, the rail business, the automotive manufacturing business. Are they getting pinched as hard as
I
what we are right now?
Well, I think everybody's getting pinched in different ways. The fuel, I think that you guys, the truckers, are right at you're at the cutting edge of the fuel issue. You feel the pain before anybody else because you feel it instantly. You know, the big corporations, they don't feel it quite as much, particularly if some of them already have fuel and storage, or they paid ahead for it in futures and things like that. They don't get hurt as much as you guys do. It's the
Hmm.
independent trucker that gets hammered here. You know, and you're right. I don't think Washington cares. I don't think your politicians care. They don't really care about much of anything. I don't think, except for control. And that's kind of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, all you have to do is look at the nurses in this country and see how they were hailed as heroes, right, during COVID.
Yeah.
And then the second they don't want to get the vaccine, they're fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which meanwhile they were working in the COVID hospitals without vaccines the entire
Hmm.
time. I
Yeah.
mean, none of this makes sense, but
No.
yet this is the mentality that exists, particularly in Washington.
Yeah.
You
We have
know,
to do for ourselves, and the best
yeah,
thing we can do to make them change is make them irrelevant. We do for ourselves, and takes their power away.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I think you got to put pressure on your local politicians.
yeah.
So, but in
Yeah.
the meantime, you guys, unfortunately, like I said, the independent trucker in particular is bearing the brunt of this. You know,
Yeah.
and it will, and I think it will subside, and rates will change. But the bigger concern that I have from what you just said is the amount of freight that's fallen.
It's
That's a
yeah.
bigger concern.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes. If volumes held up, we would be okay.
Yeah.
It is ugly out there. It is ugly.
See, that's indicative of something much bigger than the price of fuel.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that to me is scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
this all gets back to the supply chain issues.
Yeah.
The supply chain issues are real,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like they're getting worse.
Well,
And unfortunately, there's no light at the end of the tunnel on it that I see.
they're gonna be solved real quick if we have nothing to ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
kind of the way it's going. It's gonna straighten itself out through attrition. But so if we can get going back to the products. Well, first of all, let me here. I got to cut my green screen out for just a second so I can show this because otherwise you can't see it. Okay. So I got this can. This is the spray lube, and you can see there I crushed the can accidentally, not intentionally. This is the same product that was in the red bottle before, right? Or is it improved a little bit?
Same bottle.
Okay, so this can is something different than I've gotten anywhere else. There's a lot of things different about this can of spray lube. Um, as you'll notice, I crushed it. It's punctured. There's a hole in this can. All the product is still in there. So tell me how that happens. There's no air. Like the aerosol did not come out. There's no aerosol. All the product here, you can hear that. All the product is still in this can, but yet there's a hole in the can. So tell me what you did, the technology in this can.
Well, it's the reason why is because it's in a bag inside there. So that's called bag on valve technology. And
Okay.
what that is, there's a bag hanging inside there with with compressed air around it. So the compressed air is what forces it out, but it allows us to not use any hydrofluorocarbons or any kind of other petroleum toxic propellant.
Yeah.
So it's much cleaner, and also allows us to get 100% out. So had you not punctured that, 100% would eventually come out.
But I still have it, so I can cut this can open and take the product out and use it.
Yeah, if you want to, what you would do is you'd cut it open and you put it into a spray bottle somewhere and use it.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So also got this handy little, you can spray it like an aerosol. You flip this little nozzle over here and you get like a straw on it. You flip it over. That's pretty nice. So yeah, no butane, no propellants in here. So it's 100% non-toxic.
Yep. Nope.
Environmentally friendly.
All plant-based. But what it has in it is it has the what we refer to, it's HDI 2500, which is the formula that's in it. That's the plant-based formula in there that is actually friction activated. So anywhere you have metal on metal, that actually impregnates the metal with carbon and nitrogen, making it super hard, like an alloy. So it therefore doesn't rub as much. You don't create friction and heat. It doesn't wear. It also is very anti-corrosive, protects against corrosion. So that's the stuff that really works. So that's why when if you guys ever look at any of our YouTube YouTube videos, you'll see there's one in particular where the guy has the back of a bus, the truck, the doors are rusted shut. He says he hadn't had those open in 10 years. Obviously not a great safety issue, but go ahead.
This gentleman here, Adco, says he's got the same can and his won't spray. Could it just be possibly maybe a can that didn't get charged? Could he get that replaced through you?
Absolutely, he could definitely get it replaced. Yeah, let us know. We will definitely replace it for you. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Adco, call in and it could have just been a can that gets on the assembly or whatever. Maybe it didn't get charged, and we'll get you a new one.
Yep, absolutely.
So being that it doesn't have the propellant in it, I see this is 14 ounces. I think a regular can of like PB Blaster is that 12 ounces?
It's 11 ounces.
11 ounces. So
yeah. So what happened? The way it actually will compare is that propellant usually makes up about 25% of any normal product like PB Blaster, and also you're going to probably leave 10 or 15% in there at the end that won't come out. So roughly speaking, that 14-ounce can is about 2 cans of normal stuff, WD-40, PB Blaster, whatever the case may be.
Okay. Excellent.
And we also have a mini can that we're bringing out that I'll show you right here. So if people are looking for a mini can, this is 2.5 ounces. So it's a little easier to work with, throw in a toolbox, that kind of stuff. Maybe not for you guys, but here's the comparison. You know, you can see 14 ounces versus 2.5.
Nice one. Keep it in your car or something.
Yeah, exactly. Something easy. You know, we have people that were asking for smaller cans, so for different industries too. You know, they want something smaller. So, but in the meantime, that I think those are $8 or $9 or something like that, compared to the 20. So,
yeah, I'm putting on the bottom of the screen here how to get fuellox.com. You can get it there. It's got their phone number. If you want to, you get 15% off every order forever using promo code DIY Semi if you want to get you some.
Now you can buy it online too. Just go to fuellox.com and you can put in your promo code there too.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit here. Mark M, he wants badly to use your products, right? And we've talked about it, not in person, but back and forth in writing. Wants to see some basic bearing tests and some different tests. Now I know you have. We showed one on where they did the grease test, right, with the Infinity Lube.
Yeah, we Mark, we got all those tests for you. So I think they're somewhere on our website. If they're not, shoot an email to info@fuellox.com and we'll share them all with you. We have your 4-ball tests. We have your FCG tests. The best one we have and the newest one we have is done by Phalanx Labs in Chicago. The ASTM 4170, which is the fretting test. It really tests how much it protects the metal. And we had it run against Valvoline Gray Moly and also Kluber NG52. And
Kluber is a very expensive grease.
That particular grease is $120 a tube.
Yeah, that's what some of your OEMs use for various different applications.
Yeah, so we ran it against both of them. Both of them lost over 12 milligrams of metal during I think it's a 22-hour test, and we lost 1.6.
What's the percentage on that?
It's like 700%. 700 or 800%. So, but I actually called the NLGI, the National Lubrication and Grease Institute, and I asked them what the best score they've ever seen was, and they told me it was 6.6.
So you're 500% better than
something like that,
something
like 400%,
400,
whatever. Yeah, the truth of the matter is that if you look at our case studies, of which we have many of them, one of them is from McGinnis Barge, and McGinnis Barge is down in South Point, Ohio. They pull barges up out of the Ohio River. They have trolleys that go under the water, so the bearings are 10-inch Timken railroad bearings. They go under the water. They'll pick up these massive barges with massive weights, and they'll bring them up the railroad to railroad ties railroad rails at an 18-degree incline. And what they'll do is they'll bring them all the way up, then whatever. But they were losing 3 or 4 of those bearings a month. And then in 2005, they started using our grease, and they haven't lost one since.
Yeah.
So this is, and they just had an issue with one of their Manitowoc 3900 cranes. They have 9 of them. They supposedly treated all of them completely with our products. They've been doing it since 2005, and that turns out that I forget the term is for the piece of equipment. So I won't. It's at the very head, the very top of the crane, where it drops over and the cables are fed through the top there. That head type situation went bad, and to replace it, it's an $80,000 piece of equipment. It's a part, $80,000 part. And they were commenting how when they took it apart, that it was not treated with our product. And someone on the maintenance side dropped the ball because and then they went and checked them all. All the rest of them are treated. So the only one that failed was the one that wasn't treated. So, and that needless to say, a big mistake. And they know it, and but they treat everything with our stuff. I mean, tugboats, the whole 9 yards.
I'm getting there. I'm right there with you. I owe you some information because you sent me a couple cans of this. Okay. Sent me one for me, and I said, "Hey, want to take one out to the farm, try it out there." And also we got the grease. I didn't tell you I got the grease. I ordered it myself. So um, every year during the spring, during planting, I help on the farm with planting, and then sometimes in the fall I help with the harvest. There's It's hard on equipment. It's a dusty, dirty environment. You're pounding up and down. It's hard on the disc, on the plow, on everything, on the seeders. There's a disc that I run. Uh, it's one of the gangs is slightly bent a little bit because I don't know, somebody snagged a wooden fence post or something. It wasn't me, but I know who it was. And that one busts a bearing about 4 times a year dur- uh, uh, during working up the ground, getting ready to plant, because it doesn't ride right. The pressure on the bearing isn't quite right, so uh, it'll end up breaking, and we end up replacing it about 4 times during the spring planting season. This year we didn't replace it once. We started greasing all the bearings, all the equipment with the Infinity Lube grease, and we went through about a case of it to grease all that equipment. And my brother wants me to order more for him. I wanted to do some testing, but for very good reasons, he doesn't want me videotaping on the farm, because you put that stuff online, and animal rights people and PETA get a hold of it, and they come after you, even if you're doing nothing wrong. So I can't do that. But also, then with this and the grease, where we started using it is on feed carts and a TMR mixer, which is a feed mixer, and they're very dirty. They're constantly, the bearings and the sprockets and everything are buried in haylage, ground up hay, animal feed, because that's just the way they work. And especially in the TMR mixer, that bears once every 18 months maybe, because it just sits there submerged in dirty silage all the time. Greased it with the Infinity Lube grease, have not replaced it since. And also the bearings in the gutter where the manure is, you got curves and then reverse curves. And then that reverse curve, that sprocket that sits in there, is very expensive to replace, because you got to chisel up concrete. It's formed into the concrete, and it's thousands of dollars to replace. Started, lubricating it with the Infinity Lube grease, really no more issues. And that's a very acidic environment that it sits in.
That's with manure and urine
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So that's what we've been doing. He's very impressed with the grease. We're using the grease in the farm equipment. And that's, farming even more than trucking. The margin's tighter. We're not, Montana farmers with thousands of acres where you make millions of dollars. You milk cows and grow your own crops.
Well, again, it gets back to the independent farmer. The independent farmer is like the independent trucker. He's up against these big mega corporations that have, in his case, they have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of acres that they're managing. And you guys, you have one truck or two trucks or three trucks or something like that, and you're up against these guys with thousands of trucks. It's a tough world to compete out there, for both of you. So so what we did, the thing that makes the grease work is the same thing that makes the spray work, and the same thing that makes the liquid friction eliminator work. In fact, this is the main product.
Right.
Okay. The liquid friction eliminator, which goes into crankcases, gearboxes, and stuff like that. That's the main product. And then this is blended into the grease and also mixed in with the spray. So that's what makes it work. That's what makes everything last longer. That's what treats the metal. We're really the only product out there that actually treats the metal. And the beauty of it is not that it works as good as it does, which is great, but that it actually comes from a plant-based product.
Yeah.
And it's not some mega toxic thing that we've all grown up thinking that the only things that work out there are the super toxic things, right? Like we always said, oh, it's plant-based or it's bio or it's green. Oh, crap doesn't work, right? That's just what we've learned growing up in life. Well, we actually have something that, flies in the face of all of that. And we're super excited about it. Like I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah. part of getting older and wiser, I guess, and maybe this is more important to me because of what I've done in the past. I've worked around some very harsh chemicals in my life, whether it started on the farm, as a young person, and then I worked in a factory where I dealt with sulfuric acid all day, every day, and various other harsh chemicals. And then, so part of the thing I appreciate about the spray lube is it doesn't smell. I cannot handle harsh smelling chemicals. My lungs are not in the greatest of shape. and my wife will tell you that. So, that's becoming increasingly important to me, and it's part of the reason I like it so much. Besides the fact that it works really well, is it's not going to hurt me. Uh, I can't take much more of that for the rest of my life, of sulfuric acid cloud, um, ammonia, different things. It's not good for me. So, that's part of the thing I appreciate about it.
That's good. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So what's going on with, you've had growth in the company. Obviously, I think last time we talked about the company was going to possibly be going public. Is that anything that you can talk about right now?
Yeah, we can talk about it. We're talking about going public this year. What we've decided to do is, because we have so much happening from the growth standpoint, that for us we don't really need the capital, and that's the main reason for going public, is that once you're public, it makes it much easier to raise capital. And
Right.
that's really the main reason for doing it. That, and if you want to sell your company, we're nowhere close to selling it. That's not even something we're thinking about. What we were thinking about was raising capital for some acquisitions. And right now we decided that the acquisition thing just isn't that important to us, because we literally have conversations going on on 5 different continents right now with huge users of fuel. We're talking to a couple different countries that want to reduce their carbon footprint,
Mm-hmm.
and want better fuel efficiency, and just basically want better quality fuel. And they know that by using the fuel ox with combustion catalyst, it gives them something that nothing else they've seen out there can give them. So that's where, we have that going on. Of course, the lubricants now are starting to be recognized, just starting to be recognized by some rather large companies. So that we know that's going to take fire, because we know it's better than everything else out there. And it's only like I talked about, truth eventually, like rising like cream to the top. We believe that's where we're headed. So we've kind of put the whole going public thing on the back burner for the moment, but we're concentrating on, supplying our customers and just doing the best job we can.
Yeah. Are we any closer to seeing your products in any major truck stop chains, or companies that sell, truck parts, trucking supplies, or parts stores, or anything like that?
I'd like to say yes, but the answer is probably no. The whole retail is a different animal.
Yeah.
We're pretty focused right now on fuel distributors, working with them to bring it to many of the regional fuel distributors, to bring a more potent product to market to their users, as well as some of the smaller chains, that sell diesel on the road. But as far as a retail product goes, we have had conversations. We're in Walmart online, we're in Amazon and places like that, but we're not. We've had a few conversations with some of the truck stop companies, but I wouldn't say there's anything really that's on the front burner that's ready to go.
Okay. I see a bottle of the Fuel Ox sitting next to you. There's probably people watching this for the first time that ain't heard about you. There's a lot of new viewers to the channel. If you want to get these products, we're going to tell you about the Fuel Ox. That's kind of the main thing here. It's fuelox.com, and you can get a discount, 15%. Use the promo code DIY Semi for off every order. For the people who haven't heard about it before, can you tell us what's special about that?
Well, the first thing that's special is this 16-ounce bottle will treat 1,250 gallons. Okay, so it's more concentrated than anything else out there that you're going to see. This little compartment up here will treat 80 gallons. So that's how you measure it. But the big thing is that it does everything you would expect a good fuel additive to do, meaning it cleans out your injectors, it stabilizes your fuel, it gets rid of the water, it has lubricity agents in there. But what our stuff does beyond that is we're one of the few companies in the country that have a combustion catalyst. And what that does is it gets your fuel to combust more thoroughly. In this case, diesel will usually combust around 900 degrees. We get it to combust around 600. And by doing that, you end up with a more thorough burn, which means more power, better fuel efficiency. Most of you guys will see anywhere between 4 and 8%. Sometimes you'll see more, but that's what I'd like to, err on the side of caution and under promise and overperform. So we look 4 to 8%. And in the meantime, it reduces your emissions, your soot in particular, by over 50%. Some guys have measured as high as 70%. What that means is that your DPFs don't fill up as quickly, your regens are cut in half, EGRs stay a lot cleaner, a lot longer. And because we cut your NOx fumes down by about over 10%, we also reduce your DEF usage. So there's really nothing else out there that does as much as our stuff does. And it's pretty reasonably priced. If something like this, I think with the discount, I don't know what it is with the discount, but I think it's about $70 online to treat 1,250 gallons. So, and then with your 15% discount on top of that, you're looking at about 65 or about $60.
Okay.
So
NOx. Sorry, go ahead.
So about 5. So it works out to about 5 cents a gallon to treat a gallon of fuel.
Okay, so NOx and soot kind of have an inverse relationship to each other. Usually, if you reduce one, you increase the other one. How does this product decrease both?
Yeah, generally speaking, you're 100% correct. The hotter the burn, the less soot you're going to have because you're burning the fuel more, but you're creating more NOx fumes. Okay, and likewise, the inverse, as you said, is that if it's a cooler burn, you're going to have more soot, but you're going to have less NOx. So by starting the combustion process at a lower temperature, as we do, we're able to actually do both those things. We end up with a more thorough burn and a slightly cooler burn, which gives you the reduced NOx and reduced soot.
Kind of okay, that makes sense. So as far as I know, there's only one other product out there like this. So to say, well, I just use Lucas or House or Power Service, it's not the same. You're not comparing. You're comparing a Ford Pinto and a Chevy Suburban. They're not the same, so it's not fair to compare them. These other products do not have the catalyst in it. There's one that does. I think the cost per gallon was like 4.5 cents more per gallon to treat the same amount of fuel. I did the math one time using the discounts on both. So, economically, it makes a lot more sense. But what's good about the FuelOx product is what it doesn't have in it, right? You're missing the way that bottle can treat, ounce for ounce more than the competitor is what it doesn't have in it, and that's all the fillers. And a lot of these fillers, number one, they're bad for the environment, and number two, what they can do is not, what those fillers can do is maybe not something you want to have happen in your engine.
Well, the biggest one is glycol ether. That's really what makes up a lot of the non-combustion catalyst products that you just mentioned.
And they put that in because it's a good cetane booster.
Exactly. Yep. And we don't need the cetane booster because we're already improving your combustion far beyond any cetane booster.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the thing I immediately noticed on my truck, I have a 12.7 Detroit pre-emissions, pre all emissions, not even EGR, is the idle. That the idle it changes when I use that product. It's smoother, it's more consistent. It doesn't have the Detroits are known for, I don't know, like a little stutter. We don't get that. And then two oil changes ago, I started using the liquid friction eliminator, and I tell you what, that thing is smooth like somebody balanced the engine, like somebody took it apart and balanced the pistons and the rods and everything. and I won't be without it again. You know,
Well,
using it.
and the cool thing about that is you don't have to use it every oil change. You
Oh,
know,
really?
the liquid friction eliminator, you can literally use it every other oil change, and you'll still and by the way, most of the guys that are using it are going at least double their normal oil change after they've used it the initial time. Because
Oh,
because it treats it case hardens basically the inside of your engine. So it's important to note too, it's not a coating. Okay. It's not a coating like a Molly or something like that, or some of the other products out there. It also doesn't really rely on any kind of film strength to do to help. It really treats the metal itself. So anywhere there's friction in there, it treats those areas of friction, and it'll take the high points of the substrates off. So you'll have a smoother micro surface, and it reduces the drag inside the engine. See, that's the other thing. The thing about people understand about coatings is that when the coatings are actually on the metal itself, it acts as a drag for the oil that's surrounding it.
okay.
Therefore it acts as a drag on the engine. So obviously it's on a microscopic level, but it still causes the engine to work harder than it should. So
Okay.
what we do is we're not a coating. We treat the metal, and we take away that drag. So that's what you're seeing. And once that metal's treated, you don't have to treat it every single time. So most of our guys will treat it every other time that they fill up. Or what they might do is after the initial one, they'll put in instead of 2 ounces per quart, they'll put in 1 ounce per quart, and they'll run 1 ounce per quart all the time.
That's what I've been doing.
But if you monitor your oil, you'll notice that you do not have to change it at the normal intervals. Okay. That's a big thing. I'll tell you that a friend of mine who runs a large bus company here in the New York City area, and is the head of maintenance there, he's an SUV. I forget what it is. It's some sort of SUV but it tells him when his oil needs to be changed, because it monitors the viscosity of the oil. And normally he says it gets about 6,500 miles. It tells him. And he called me up the other day. He said, "I got to tell you something." He goes, "I put your liquid friction eliminator in last time I changed my oil." He goes, "And I'm at 13,000 miles and it still hasn't come on yet." So normally it comes on at 6,500. So it's I'm telling you, that's what you're going to see. But again, go ahead.
Where you said that it kind of case hardens the metal and it smooths out the high points in the metal, you do have a microscopic evidence of that is that on the website?
Yeah,
we do.
We do have pictures of that. Yes, we do. Yep.
Yeah, where they looked at it under a microscope and showed how the metal kind of changes.
Yeah, the pictures were taken with an electron microscope. Yeah,
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
It's important, obviously personal experience is one thing, and from using the product, but a lot of people want to see those tests. That fretting test is it's a big time test. It's an important test. So that everybody wants to see that one arm bandit test, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of that test because for whatever reason, but if they want to see that, the gentleman, the inventor gentleman, I forget his name.
Howie. Yeah.
There's a video of that on your Infinity Lube website now.
Right.
Or not website, YouTube page.
Right.
So if y'all want to see that, go there. The dude's brilliant. Like, it's hard to keep up with him because he's smart and he moves fast, right? That's Howie, right?
And you know what he does? He cuts through the BS that you usually see in those things, where they go slow and it's running in the bath, like that race will run in the bath of oil the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't use the bath. He's like, "No, I don't care. I'm not going to use. I want to just I'll put it on my finger and I'll put it on there and we'll compare things and so on and so forth." What the key part about those is that two things. Number one is, he'll take whatever normal grease you want and put it on there, and then he'll blow it off with the brake cleaner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which takes everything off basically, right? And it won't work at all. And what he does with our stuff, then he hits it with the brake cleaner, and it'll still work.
Yeah.
But then the best part about it, and you all have to see this to see what I'm talking about. But the best part in my book I like is then he pulls out the butane torch and he puts a butane torch on it with nothing on there, and it still works.
Yeah.
So
and that's after all he did was put a little bit of LFE on his finger and just wipe it on the bearing. That's it.
But then what he does is he puts the pressure on it, because it's the pressure and it's the friction and the heat that's created that will treat that bearing. And that's what it does. As he's putting the pressure on it, it's treating the bearing. And he only does it for a few seconds, but it's enough to treat the bearing for him to do that test.
Yeah, he explained that to me, how they did that in the shipyard. They took they wiped the product on the track, right?
Yep.
And then they went through with like a wire brush grinder.
They either use a wire brush or they'll use like a 4/0 steel wool, something like that. Just enough to give it metal on metal friction.
Yeah.
To activate it. Yeah, because the first problem they had at the shipyard was that when they were bringing those barges up, it was causing stiction on the from the wheels, the steel wheels to the rails, and it was tearing the rails up. I heard they were pulling off pieces of rail that were 10 inches long. That was just peeling up. And what they did is they used the spray, and they sprayed them all down, and then they hit it with either a wire brush or some sort of 4/0 steel wool or something. But they literally put one guy on each rail. They had 5 sets of rails, so they had 10 guys out there that did the whole rails all the way up, and it stopped it in its place. And that's when they said, "Hey, if this will work here, do you have a grease that we can put in our bearings?" And Howie actually, at that point, that's when he created the grease, because he took the LFE and he mixed it into the grease at that point, and that's when they started using it.
Yeah, Howie's got some amazing stories. I mean, I don't know how he comes up with this stuff, but yeah, he told me every third time they would pull a barge out, they would rip that track up, and it would cost $1 million or $3 million or something like that.
Something crazy like that. Yeah, they were really at wit's end.
Ridiculous.
Because the barges started getting so much bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, the barges now are so much bigger than they were 20 years ago. So, and I think they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
he's got some amazing stories, but
you're gonna have to get him on here one day.
I know. Does he have that capability? I really want to. I wanted to go down to his place. Like, he invited me. He's like, "Come down. I'll show you the shipyard. We'll do this, do that." And I intended on it like last June, and then I started adding trucks and kind of growing the company. I'm like, I can't get away now. But if he can do something like this, I'd just turn the camera on and let him tell stories all day. Because I could listen to it all day.
Well, he's a character, and the man knows his stuff, and something people don't know about him is that he was actually an entertainer in Las Vegas. Had his own show for 3 years.
Didn't he buy Johnny Paycheck's old house down there in the Ohio River Valley?
He does. He lives in Johnny Paycheck's old house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was actually, that's Johnny Paycheck, I believe, was one of his mentors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then somebody asked him one time, Garth Brooks or somebody asked him, "What the hell are you going to do in retirement?" And he's like, "Well, I've been working on this oil additive product." And they're like, "What? You're a musician?"
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think it was Garth Brooks. So
yeah,
he's friends with all those guys. So that's a different world, that whole Nashville group there. But Howie is, someday we'll talk about it, how we met. But it's, I was looking for a lubricant and spent 3 or 4 years, and I've never found anything that I thought was worthwhile for us to carry until I met Howie. And we're thrilled. We got a fantastic product. We're excited about it, and quite honestly, it's totally different than everything else out there, and it's hard for people to understand, but it works, and I'm telling you,
it's brand loyalty, right?
Yep.
And it's hard to break that. It's hard to break into that. If you have enough money where you can have a stadium named after yourself, or whatever. I mean, your marketing budget is strong.
Yep.
you can do whatever you want, and people are going to buy it.
What's interesting? Because You look at a lot of these products that we go up against that people say, "Oh, I love so and so. I love this. I love." Most of these are like 1950s technology. They're really not good. But you know what? It doesn't matter because they have the brand recognition. They've worked hard for it. They do have decent products for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's how they got to where they were. And God bless them. That's that's the American way. But it just shows it's not the old. And by the way, the old adage, "Build it and they will come," is a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
You got to work for it. I don't care how good your product is. You have to work hard to get it recognized and to get people to like it.
Well, you're gonna find the right person eventually. Like, if anybody's heard this before, uh, I used your products for probably 3 years before I ever contacted you. And
Mhm.
it never dawned on me to do something like this. So on my YouTube channel, I'm like, hey, people should probably know about this. We had never talked up till that point. Uh, I started using it, got a couple of my friends to start using it, and like, this is pretty good stuff. And then it dawned on me, like, well, let's put this out there. And I approached you about doing it. Like, you guys didn't come to me. So, I used it before we ever did this. I think if eventually you're gonna catch the right person that can really get it out
Well, you know what? I don't
more,
whether it's the right person or it just keeps building like it
or
is.
yeah, or the
You
right
know,
situation.
it's one of those things that you don't know where critical mass is when you're building a brand. But critical mass comes, and as long as you have a good product and you bring it to market and you work hard and you do things the right way, I'm a firm believer that eventually you will be successful. And I think that we're making great progress. We have in the last few years continued to grow, and it's because of guys like you, Adam, that are loyal, that do recognize we have good products and are willing to tell people about it. So I have no doubt in my mind that we're very close to having a breakthrough on
Yeah.
on that side. But it's because of guys like you and because of hard work on our end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is.
I'm very grateful for it.
Oh, so am I. Like, this is I kind of feel like, and this is my very much my personal opinion. I'm not speaking for you or anybody else, but I kind of feel like I want my equipment to last. If I can do something with these products or whatever to make this truck last 5, 6, 7 more years, it's almost like, hey, free truck, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to buy another one. Now there's obviously other situations to take care with them for maintenance, but uh, no, some of the best products out there people have never heard of before. You can make the best product out there. It's hard to get it out.
Yeah.
And how many people throughout history have not been able to achieve that and just end up giving up on it when they may
Yeah.
have the best thing in the world.
Well, look at Nikolai Tesla. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, died
the guy
broke.
died broke.
Yeah,
And he may have one of the greatest inventions the world's ever known. In fact,
a
probably
few
does.
of them. A
Yeah, a
few.
few
I
of them.
saw a diagram once where he made a 350 horsepower motor that could fit in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, how
Yeah.
in the heck? And I think it was a Pierce Arrow car that they converted. It ran off of electricity, but it wasn't the kind of electricity with batteries. It was they could it was some kind of static electricity that you could transmit through the air. I'm
Mhm.
like, how we can't do that now? How the hell did you do it 100 years ago?
Yep.
There was a lot of things, but so to be a part of that and try to help a good product get out there, I'm really glad to do it.
Well, I'd say that is one of the things that Howie, who invented my partner who invented the lubricants, that's part of what drives him is that he believes this will change the world, and it is. I mean, anything that reduces friction by hundreds of percent over what's being used today, I agree with him. I agree with him. We'll change the world.
Hmm.
So it's just we're at the very formative stages of this coming out, and we know that every challenge we have, we hit head on,
Yeah,
and we're willing to do it, and we're looking forward to doing it. So if anybody has anything they want to compare us with, let's do it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So we're we like you said, we believe we have something though that will change the world, and we're at the very beginning of it.
yeah. I kind of feel like if you're using the products right now, you're kind of ahead of the curve. It's like buying Apple at $1. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, I
So
like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Boy, if we could turn back time, huh? Were you guys at Matt's at the truck show at all, or did
you
you do
know
any of
something?
that?
We were at the work truck show in Indianapolis.
Okay.
We did the work truck show in Indianapolis. We did not do Matt's this year. We did it 3 years ago, and I just couldn't fit it into the schedule this year. So
Well, how about we make a date for next year? I want to go. I've always
okay.
wanted to go to one of these. I'd love to come and at least hang out with you guys for a while. Meet you all. We've been talking long enough, and if there's any way I can be a part of it, man, I'd love to.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to. Would love to have you there. We will. I know we're going to be in Houston at the Offshore Technology Conference in a couple of weeks, in a month. We're also going to be at the. There's another show, an Impact it's called, which is in Indianapolis. That's convenience stores and truck stops. So we'll be at that show. But yeah, we'll let you know we're at a lot. We do a lot of stuff, a lot of shows. So next year, yeah, maybe we'll do the Mats next year.
You probably do a fair bit of marine shows still.
Yeah, we do mostly regional stuff over here. Not a lot. We're kind of starting to cut that back a little bit, just because we're so involved with heavy equipment and trucking now that we're trying to focus more on that and distribution, fuel distribution. So those are really our three big focus areas at the moment. But yeah, we do like 20, 25 shows a year,
Wow.
So
okay. All right. Well, yeah. Dallas, the Gats show, is that going to happen yet this year?
No, I don't know. We did that a few years ago just to see what it was like. It's I'd rather do Mats than Gats, only because Gats, it's just too far for us to go at this moment, and it's a much smaller show, and you can hit most of the same target at Mats as you can at Gats. They're both great shows,
Right.
It's just that I don't know if I have the bandwidth to fit them both in,
All right. So you mentioned, if we want to test your product against others,
Yep.
how do we get that done? Trucking Up wants to see your product against Hot Shot Secret with all their glycol ether in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have anything on that compares the Hot Shot. I have it against a lot of the other ones, So let me look and see if I have. So I don't think I have anything that compares us with Hot Shot Secret. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I have it for, like I said, I have it for 10 or 12 of the other of the main ones. So
okay, I haven't even seen that. Where can I find that?
Hot Shot Secret?
No, the comparisons.
I have it. I'll just send it to you. We don't. It's not something you don't usually put things like that on your website. It's just not. It's not something we want to.
You're not looking to downgrade other products. Just
exactly.
Okay.
I'm not exactly.
Okay. I wouldn't mind if you sent it to me, would it be okay to share it like via email if somebody wanted to see it?
Yeah, sure. I'll share it with you, Adam, then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So,
all right. I get a lot of requests for that.
Okay.
And maybe I would really like to do some tests on my own. I don't know how. Like I don't have the technological know-how. I guess. I mean, it's one thing to stand there and do it, and you can feel and touch, but how does it translate over video? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I have not figured all that out. I'd like to get a few different machines, but
the bottom line is that unless you have a combustion catalyst in your fuel, you know what? There's nowhere from a chemical standpoint that you can really compete with one that has one. You know what I'm saying? You have to have, we have a combustion catalyst. If another one has a combustion, yeah, okay, then that's probably, we have an opportunity there to compare apples to apples. But most of these other, better known fuel additives out there that do not have combustion catalysts, they really can't begin to compete with what we have.
Yeah, there's really only one that anybody knows about. And
again, it's not as concentrated, and it costs more.
It's far more expensive to use.
Yep.
And it has a lot of fillers in it.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting. Excellent. I primarily want to test the liquid friction eliminator. I think that would
Yeah.
be interesting thing to do. That's what I get a lot of requests for. So
Well, I'll tell you, what's interesting too is we've done a lot of testing, like I said, 4-ball tests, FCG tests, all these tests that, that everyone's familiar with. I'll be happy to share those with you.
mhm,
An interesting test we did that not too many people know about is we're talking to companies that make oil,
mhm.
motor oil, and what we've done is we've shown them how I can take a very low grade motor oil, and by adding 1 ounce per quart of the liquid friction eliminator, I can make it surpass some of the best motor oils out there.
I was that was going to be my next question to you is, can you see any improvement by using I mean, take a super tech oil from Walmart, or
Yep.
at the far end of the spectrum you have that, and then at the other end you have a product like AMSOIL or something. Any difference in results versus which the
Yeah.
oil is basically a carrier at this point?
Yep, exactly. And the answer is yes. And that's what I was saying. We have some testing that we've shown that I can share with you with and where we have taken a very low grade motor oil and added just 1 ounce of our product to it. And then we've compared it, and then we retested it using the 4-ball wear test, and against the one of the higher grade motor oils out there. And we outperformed them. It's amazing the difference with just 1 ounce per quart that we could create.
Okay, but you did not also treat the higher grade motor oil.
We actually did that too. We treated it also. We saw an increase in that as well. The reason why we didn't see the same incremental increase, we did see we saw a sizable improvement. Don't get me wrong, but with the not the same amount as we did with the cheap oil. And the reason why is because all of the liquid oil additives, the LOAs that are in the high end additives, or high end motor oils rather, they actually inhibit us from doing our job,
Really?
because what we need is we need access to the metal. Okay. And all those LOAs are coatings. And so they actually get in the way of us doing the best job we can do. Now, over time, it's not going to matter. We will get in there and we'll do it.
Right.
But it's like our grease. When people switch over to our grease, we try to tell them, hey, you know what? Try to get as much of the old stuff out as you can, because what we need is access to the metal. Because our grease needs
Okay.
to get in there and get right on the metal, and that way, when the friction takes place, the metal gets treated. That's what really makes our stuff work. Okay.
Huh. Okay.
So, and the LOAs tend to get in the way of that. But again, it's not the end of the world. It just takes a little longer,
Hmm.
and it's why we didn't go. It's why we didn't go from here to here. We just went from here to here, on the testing. Still sizable improvements, but not what we got with the cheap oil, because there were no LOAs in the cheap oil.
Right.
Okay. So that's
I
the
never thought of
difference.
that. I was of the mindset, oh man, if I took this and I put it in my high quality expensive oil, man, would I get even better results. But I never considered that could happen. I
Well,
never
you'll
would have
act,
thought of it.
but you will get better results than the cheap one treated, but just not that much better. It's not. It really isn't.
Oh, okay.
You will be better, but it just won't be as incrementally a big a jump as it
Right.
was from the cheap
It's like
oil. Because
what
the
do they
cheap
call that?
oil,
The law of diminishing returns.
it's exactly right. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, everybody's saying we should send some of this to Project Farm to. Have you ever heard of Project Farm, the YouTube
I
channel?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should check
Oh, wait,
that
wait,
out.
wait, wait, wait. I have heard of it. I haven't had any interaction with them, but yes,
You
I have heard it. They test
you
everything, right?
yeah, you might strike up something with him to send him some product or something. Uh, I had that thought a lot too, but then I'm like, well, why don't I do it and reap the benefits of it? But then I'm like, oh yeah, I don't ever get it done. So, if somebody else wanted to do it, hey, you know, wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
follow that up for sure.
yeah, yeah. Anything else? We talked a lot about a lot of different things today. Anything that's that we missed, or you want to?
Oh, we have
You wanna
one
promote?
we have one new product that you might have interest in.
Okay.
Do you remember we were talking about this a little while ago?
Oh yeah, yeah. Can you talk about that now?
Yeah, we're gonna come out with a gun lube,
Okay.
and
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
it,
I want to. Yeah, yeah.
it's
Talk about that.
it's not made. It'll be out probably in about a month. It's not made to treat your whole gun, to spray your whole gun and make it nice and shiny and oily and greasy and all that stuff. It's really made for the friction points,
Hmm.
you know. So your triggers, your barrels, things like that, slides, that kind of stuff. That's what you want. That's what it's made for. So, give you a couple of quick examples. I have one of the guys who's going to make some videos for us is a good friend of mine, and he is ex Blackwater, works with guns a lot, that kind of stuff. And he came to me right after I gave it to him and said, "Rand, this stuff is insane." And because it has the same HDI 2500 that all our lubricants have in it, so it treats the metal where there's
Mhm.
friction, where the friction points are. And I go, "Well, explain to me what you mean by that." He goes, "Well, I had a guy come in that wanted me to take his AR trigger down from about 6 pounds to he wanted it down to about 4, So he goes, I treated it with your stuff, and I literally just put it on and gave it a little rub, and then wiped it off, and it was 3.5 pounds." So he goes, "I'd never seen anything do that as quickly." He goes, "And I worked on it a little bit, and because I wanted to see how low I could get it, and I got it down to about 2.5 pounds, and
Jeez.
he goes, and we both agreed, yeah, that's probably a little too low, but at the same token, he'd never seen anything like it before, right?" And then he said he has another friend of his. They went out to the range, and he had a new AR, and they were going to break it in. So, and they had a chrono on it as well. So they said they fired a few rounds through it. The chrono was reading about 3,200, 3,250, 3,230, that kind of stuff.
That's
Something
feet
along
per
those lines.
second. Feet
Correct.
per second.
And then they treated the barrel with our lube, and started shooting again, and all of a sudden it's reading 3,500, 3,500, 3,510, 3,520, 3,500. And they looked at each other and they said, "Did you just change the ammo?" And he goes, "No." He goes, then they all of a sudden they realize it's the lube, because it treats the barrels under that friction and heat, which obviously is tremendous, and they saw an increase of actual velocity,
Uh, Three
because
3,000 to 32 to 35. That's
3,200
eight. What?
to
8
like
to 10
30,
percent.
yeah, something like that, and I told Howie about it, and Howie was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I've known that forever. We got tons of guys that have told me that." And I go, "Well, when were you going to tell me?" But the point is that it has it. I believe that as a gun lube, it blows everything else away, and we'll have that out probably in about, like I said, about a month.
So Howie put me in touch with a guy in Florida that
Okay.
is using it in a different fashion. Do you think it'd be like is that any trouble with the EPA to talk about that, or can I say what that guy's doing?
What I'm not sure which
The
one.
the guy that does HVAC.
Oh no, you can say that. That's fine. We're that's also a product that we're going to be bringing out probably in the next couple months too.
Okay, so talking to Howie on the phone the first time we talked, and Howie produces. He doesn't just talk a lot of stuff. He's like, "I've been working with this guy down in Florida that's running a air conditioning business and telling me what he's doing." He's like, "Hold on, I'll get him on the phone." So he puts me on hold and brings this guy on, and the guy tells me all about what he's doing with his air conditioning business down in Florida, and he's getting these central air systems to put out nearly 0 degree air, and it's not. It doesn't freeze up the unit. Anything. It's the air it's putting out is astonishing. He says he's putting 1 ounce of the LFE into uh the Freon system, the R134 or R404, whatever. Uh, Getting the AC system to put out enormous cold air, and I'm thinking right away. I'm thinking reefer unit. So I'm trying to find a way to inject a little bit of that into my refrigerant system on my reefer units and test it out. Um, if that reefer unit can run 10% less of the time, that's going to save a lot of fuel. If it can cool down faster, if I'm trying to pick up a load of frozen French fries and I'm sitting out in 90-degree weather and I need to pre-cool that reefer, and I can do it in 30 minutes instead of an hour, I'm all for that. That's going to save a lot of fuel.
Well, what you'll
So,
also find is that it just takes less energy to keep it at those temperatures.
yeah,
So most of the people that he was telling me that they were working with are saving, the homeowners, because he deals with homeowners, were saving between 20 and 30% on their fuel bill, on their
yeah,
on their electric bill.
and that's in a
So
hot. I mean, you're in Florida. That
yeah, that's
AC is
Florida.
running.
Yep.
It's not like you're in Minnesota with an AC system, right?
But they've also treated huge units for skyscrapers and seen the same type of results.
Hmm.
Massive units.
So, and he
that's
explained it to me. It just affects how it works. Is whatever is in the product affects the heat exchange properties of that refrigerant. Is
yep.
basically how it's working. It's obviously going to lubricate your compressor a little bit, the amount that it goes through there, but it affects the heat transfer when when that refrigerant is expanding and contracting.
It reduces all the friction as well. That's the big thing. Is that there's as those liquids move through those systems, there are friction points, and it treats those friction points. That's
Right.
so that liquid moves much quicker, much easier without a lot less effort
Yeah.
and energy. So
Yeah. So I want to try that. I'm excited to try it. I just don't know exactly how I'm going to get it done because I'm not going to go to any reefer guy and he's not going to be willing to do that for me.
no, what there's
So I need the
there's
fittings myself.
well, yeah, but I think you could. I'm not sure if it's the same type as you would have on a residential unit. I got to believe it's fairly similar though, and they're basically, you can find them. I'll show you the ones that we have right now,
Yeah.
but they fit onto the lower part of the
Yeah.
of the unit, and you just basically, it's a plunger, and you just pump in, an ounce.
Okay.
And
I have a set of manifold gauges for automotive. I just don't know if they're the same size.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet, but if
Yeah.
I could just get like they make those injectors, you can inject dye into your system.
Yep.
Maybe I just need to get one of those.
Yep. That's the same thing.
Oh, is it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not hard to do.
It's the same system. Yeah. That's all you need to do. And then just inject an ounce into there. And, what we do is we recommend 1 ounce per ton of rating on the unit,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, those, I don't know what's the rating on a reefer. It can't be
They're
more than
not really rated by the ton.
because they're probably smaller, right, than that, or maybe, I don't know.
They go by, I don't know. I mean, they give you a BTU rating,
Right.
but I've never seen anything by the ton. Maybe I can go by the amount of refrigerant that's in it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested to know too. We haven't really gotten to the point with using on reefers, but I mean, what's it? I mean, it is all the same technology. Basically.
Same. It's a closed loop air conditioning system.
Yep.
Is all it is. Same parts.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Mark said, try. I'm gonna try it in my car first. See what how that goes. And I have thermometers. I can read the temperatures coming out the vents.
Yep.
Okay. Mark says it goes by the compressor size. 22 pounds is the bigger size. Yeah. Yeah. And then they take, these days like R404 instead of, what's it, 135A or whatever. So does the refrigerant type matter? We could probably just do it in any of those types of refrigerant, right?
Yeah, I don't think it matters, but I would want to look at it first before I said that.
Okay.
Definitively.
Yeah. I mean, I already use it in the oil on the reefer units, and they do seem to run a little quieter too. So, just as happy with it in there. So gun oil. any other new products? Is that pretty much it?
Oh, not that it would matter to you guys. We have a tar type of removal product, that for asphalt companies and things like that, where you would take you take the asphalt off, and if you treat the back of a truck, a bed of a truck, and you spray it in there, and then you give it a little scrub with like I said, with a 4/0 steel wool or a metal brush, that'll keep it from readhering. So,
Okay.
it gets it all, and it's all 100% plant-based too. So, and it's not citrus. A lot of that stuff is citrus-based, and the citrus is very bad for aquatic life. It kills all aquatic life. So,
Yeah, you told me that, and I did not know about that. What's the rationale behind that? I never would have thought that just because something is green and biodegradable, it could still be bad for
yeah,
aquatic life.
yep. And that's exactly what the citrus products are. They clean well. They're really good at breaking down let's face it. Most of those guys have been using diesel fuel to clean. That's what's always been done. And and the EPA now they don't want you doing that. They don't want diesel going into the environment, which rightfully so. So, they've had to come up with something else. So the citrus was all the big rage because it would clean off the asphalt and everything, and it was made, from a bio source. But unfortunately, like you said, it is very toxic for aquatic life. So
I never would have thought that. So
yep,
yeah, a lot of people commenting they really like the antigel. I think a
awesome.
lot of people have been trying that. I've been using it for years. It's the only thing I'll use. But a lot of people are very happy with it. I think that's, probably most of what people have been buying, that and the fuel ox for the catalyst. That
Nice. Starting your truck at -25. I like that, Gary. That's
yeah,
great.
mine pops off like nothing. And even if it sits, you know, going down the road is one thing. Cold weather, start, one day after another. You take that truck and you park it for a week, and let it sit there in that kind of cold. That's another whole nother story.
Yeah.
It's got a
Oh yeah.
lot of time to sit there and wax and gel.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are happy with it. And that freeze guard, I tell you what, that freeze guard is something else. The cold charge is, they say just double dose the cold charge. You don't need the freeze guard. But on the coldest of days, man, and when that truck's going to sit for a long time, it gets the freeze guard in it.
Yeah, that freeze guard's a crazy product. That's always amazed me. I can't figure out how they do that, Not at 1 to 10,000,
No,
So
no, really happy with that. So, well, and we covered a lot of things today. I'm glad you did
boy,
this.
man, we sure
Everybody,
did.
fuelox.com is the website. 908-747-2720. If you have any questions or you need anything, hey, you say, hey, send me that 4-ball test or whatever. Place your orders. The customer service is great. You're always going to talk to somebody right there in New Jersey, right? That's
Yep.
the way it works.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
you're not talking to somebody in Pakistan when you call. So you're going to get good service from somebody who cares. And use that promo code. Get 15% on every order. Or hey, if you think if you want to cut me out and just order it. I'm not shy. I just want you to use it. I want this thing. It's like this thing we promote for buying fuel called this MUDFLAP app. Like me and a friend promote it because we use it and we want it to get bigger. If there's more of it, there's better discounts. It's a good fuel network for people who don't have many resources. So it's kind of like that. Just want people to use it and get it out there. We're all better off for it. So definitely use that promo code or not. And Rand,
Well,
thanks for doing this today.
you know what, we really appreciate you guys, Adam. We appreciate you. Appreciate all you guys that use our products. We're a family-based business. We got about 12 people that work for us. Myself and my 2 sons are basically run the place, with my daughter-in-law, who's phenomenal. But we're a tight group, and we're really grateful for all your support. And tell your friends about it, and and just keep supporting us. And we just want you to know how really truly grateful we are to all of you.
Yeah, good products, and we keep using them. Eventually, we will see them in truck stops. We'll see them on the shelf next to everybody else, and that's a tall order. The shelf space in a major chain or a Walmart or whoever is not an easy task. It's not what you think it is. Just provide them a good product and they give you shelf space. And it takes money. A lot of times you got to buy into that shelf space too. So
Yep. Yep.
it's not an easy task. So everybody take care. Take care of your equipment. And I hope you make it through these tough times. We're going to do another interview tomorrow. We got Paul coming on from Freight Connect. So we're going to try to talk about all that a little bit here. And everybody take care, and we will see you next time.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Adam.